All right. So, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about our finance transformation journey and, most importantly, what we believe to be critical skills for the future. As Giles mentioned, by way of introduction, my name is Parag Ved. I'm a senior director in the finance department at Dell Technologies. I've been with the company for over 20 years and started the finance transformation. Internally, we are calling it as Finance of the Future program about 3 years back. So for today, I think we'll spend some time talking about the overall finance transformation. What does the future state finance organization looks like? Talk a little bit more about the skill set transformation, and then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. So let's get right into it. So we started this program about 3 years back. And not surprisingly, it was focused on people, process, and technology. And then, my plan is to actually get a little deeper into each one of these topics, right? So as you think about people, as with any multi-year program, people are the key to success, right? And so we set up our overall journey revolving around people, along with setting up a very dedicated communication and change management framework to go make sure we are able to articulate the vision and the why we need to go make this change, and go on this transformation journey to our team members in the finance organization. We also set up a work stream on skill set transformation, and that's something that I'll talk about a little bit later today. And then focused a little bit more on operating model. How are we as a finance organization set up to go support our stakeholders, our business partners, and the GMs, if you would. You think about process, look, I think it's similar to a technology debt, if you think about it. I bet we all also carry a process debt, right? We are carrying on with legacy processes, sometimes through acquisition, sometimes just through the nature of how work gets done in an organization and how processes evolve. And what we started thinking about is how do we free ourselves from legacy processes and then reimagine new ways of working in an organization that will allow us to deliver consistent outcomes and
Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, we have lost Parag briefly. Leave that with me. I think he will be rejoining us in a second. Apologies about the delay. Oh, I think I can see you are back, Parag. Hi, Parag, you're back again now.
Did I lose video on that?
You did, yeah. You cut out briefly.
Okay. All right. You guys able to see my screen again? I'm sorry.
It's okay. And you're back. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So let me just reset the. So as we were talking about processes, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure why I got disconnected, guys. Um, kind of free ourselves from the legacy processes and free ourselves of the process debt that we carry. And our goal was to make sure we simplify the processes, reimagine them in a new way. So reimagine how work gets done in a new way. And then we would say, okay, is there an opportunity for us to automate it? And then we would go about automating it. And then the third leg of this tool was the technology, just making sure that we had technology, bringing in new technology like RPA, AI, ML, advanced analytics into the organization and starting to make that as part of our everyday culture, if you would. So if I think about it from a people, process, and technology, at a very high level, this is what our journey looked like, if you would, right? we started in 2018 what we would normally call as forming, right? It's like forming, storming, norming, performing. So we started forming with the art of the possible. We created something called as digital awareness certification, and I'll walk you through it in a second. But if you think about it, it was much more about just laying the foundation, setting the vision for our overall organization, and getting executive buy-in, getting the hearts and the mind of our executives all the way down to our frontline leaders. 2019, last year, was the next step forward, wherein we started creating more learning pathways on our skill set. We started launching more councils. We had launched an automation council in 2018. 2019, we started an analytics council. The councils are set up mostly to go bring like-minded people together for best practice sharing, if you will. Started doing more benchmarking efforts with external companies and including forums like these. And while we had started on the pilots in 2018, 2019 was seeing the output of those pilots. And as we saw the output, we got a thumbs up and then started doing more production ready, mission critical process automation, if you would. This year has been unique for all of us in many different aspects, right? I mean, you can think about the first 3 months. It was business as normal, maybe first 2 months. But then as we hit the pandemic, we saw an increased demand in automation, in analytics, in wanting to know business insights. And then I think as we look at next year, 2021, it's going to continue to be like, how do we go evolve ourselves? How do we go transform ourselves as we get ready for the new normal? Whatever the new normal is going to look like as we get out of the pandemic, how do we go make sure that we are working efficiently and effectively for the future, right? And so for us, 2020 has been reimagining how we work. We have broader initiatives. We have new ways of working identified. We are pushing more on AI ML with the thought that automation helps us deliver, and we are starting to get that in our DNA through automation in our DNA. And then the focus for 2021 next year is how do we get analytics into our DNA or AI ML into our DNA and start working through it so that we are not second guessing ourselves, but just kind of working through some of that. And the key for us has been executive sponsorship, agility, flexibility. And we all had to be flexible. We all were adaptable, right, wrong, or indifferent. We were adaptable as we hit the pandemic and everybody started working from home, and we are doing this conference virtually. So it did show that we are agile and adaptable when we are pushed to go do things. So as I look at the next evolution, uh, I think this is what a finance organization, and this is our journey, but I do believe this is probably resonating with a lot of you guys, if you would. You think about it from a transformation perspective, I think organization evolves from a hierarchical organization that we used to be to a more end-to-end process-based organization. And I think future would be more breaking the silos and not being hung up by who's reporting to whom, but more about virtual teams and how work gets done in these virtual teams. I think skill set and the concept of reskill and upskill is going to be extremely important. Along with that, it's going to be important to go make sure we have a diverse workforce, we are diverse and inclusive workforce. We have to take care of gender gap and things of that nature, if you would, as we go into the future. Essentially, we had to get our workforce ready for these future ready skills, have them equipped with future ready skills. It's this concept of human and machine partnering together to achieve full potential. And then lastly, as I think about our digital transformation, I think of it more from legacy technology, ERP that used to take months and months to go implement, to yes and now. Like I need it. Yes, I need something and I need it almost now. So how quickly can we go deliver? And then there are different models, especially within our company, that we are enabling. As a service model is going to be really key for us. So how can we go continue to go provide new avenues for our businesses, and continuously manage those avenues by transforming our processes, and then digitally leveraging the digitally transforming those processes and leveraging technology to be successful. As I think about organization transformation, I think equally important is going to be workforce transformation. I think our workforce will continuously evolve. And as a result, our work will evolve. For us, our goal has been that we want to set up a self-service analytical organization, high degree of collaboration and trusted relationship with our business partners. So again, we are in finance. I'm part of the finance organization, working with our business partners, and then continuously being agile, being flexible, and making sure we are operating under the umbrella of security, especially data security, and making sure we are sensitive to the right information, not getting out of our hands, if you would. Think about this chart at the bottom. This is our journey. Historically, we were employees based with low degree of automation, and that's about 10 years back. To if I think about our journey from the last 2 to 5 years, we had started with some automation, starting to do a little bit more diagnostic reporting. I think where we are today, we are we have same number. We have employees, we have gig workers. So we have introduced the concept of gig economy into our company and into our organization. It's both internal and external. We do bring people from outside the company, and sometimes we kind of just work internally to go make sure we are able to capitalize on the right skill set or the right talent that's required for a project or for an initiative to be successful. And I think we have decent examples of AI, but it's not at scale. I think our future would be employees, gig economy, um, digital workers, AI, all of us working in harmony to go solve you know business problems, achieve business outcomes. It's because all of this is all about achieving outcomes. And how best do you deliver those outcomes is where the rubber meets the road. And I firmly believe that employees, gig economy, digital workers, technology coming together is the right answer to be successful. So as I think about workforce transformation, one of the things that we have been successful and have actually planned out from the beginning was the skill set transformation. What are we doing to go reskill and upskill our employees, all the way from our CFO down to the frontline analyst? So as I think about that skill set transformation, we spend significant amount of time back back in our journey when we kicked off the journey in 2018 to determine the capabilities and the skill sets that are needed and our various talent sourcing and training plans. I won't go through each and every bullet on the right hand side, but we had multiple different conferences, multiple different interviews, internal and external benchmarking. We have a very robust learning and development program within our company and within our organization. And so a lot of kudos goes to that L&D program for us on setting up this skill set transformation. So what I'll do next for the next 15 minutes or so is actually get a little deeper into the skill sets and what have we done to go mature the skill sets of our employees and team members. So let me step back a little bit and actually kind of walk you through this overall framework under which we are operating. You think about it, We have our company culture code, our values, which are, customer, winning together, innovation, results, and integrity. We have our leadership principles under which we operate as a company, which are related to more like relationships, our drive, our vision, our humility, our judgment, things of that nature. Those are more at the company level, at the Dell company level. We have our CFO organization or the finance organization competencies, which you would expect finance competencies around controllership, making sure we have our fiduciary duties, business partnering, and then just your ticket to entry, financial acumen. And you look at the right hand side, this is our formula as a company to win, especially from a finance perspective, which is liquidity, profitability, and growth. But as you think about that framework, that's still at a macro level. That's still not helping, that's still not solving at the digital transformation level. And so what we had done about 3 years back, and it has been a journey, is to introduce what we called it as digital awareness certification. That's something that you see on the skill set pillars of the future on the left hand side. And I'll walk you through that in a second. So we introduced what we call as a digital awareness certification. And then we went on to the right hand side all the way, digital capabilities. So you were introduced and you had a breadth of knowledge. And then you went on the right hand side, wherein if you wanted to become a subject matter expert, you actually kind of took classes on robotics or data visualization or advanced analytics, and you became certified in those. And then very recently, especially through the pandemic, we introduced what we call it as digital toolkits. And again, those are just evolving on a regular basis. But we introduced toolkits on Power BI, SQL, Python, R, and many more to come, Power Automate, and many more to come in terms of bite-size learnings. So as you are sitting at home, employees are sitting at home, team members are sitting at home, and you want to go actually spend a couple of hours learning Power BI, you could actually go to this toolkit and actually get acquainted with Power BI and then down the line. And so I'm going to spend like a couple minutes each on each one of these. So if you think about skill sets of the skill set pillars of the future, we believe those are related to influencing, data literacy, creativity, and storytelling, and then agility. And again, the theme of agility, as you can see, resonates across the presentation. And I won't go through each and every single line item here, but the idea here was you need to be more than just a finance or finance or an accounting leader. You do need these additional skill sets to be successful in the future, especially data literacy. I mean, I think we are in an era, a data era, and I remember the days when Excel had 64,000 rows, and now we went to million, and now people are able to do much more with Power BI sitting on top of Excel or any other visualization tool. So how do we continuously help our team members excel or advance in these skills? And so we have classes for each one of these, and almost anybody in the company, well, and of course in the finance organization, can take classes for these skill sets and go develop these skill sets. With the theme that you need to be strategic in how you are thinking about your skill sets, because it's your own development and the overall problem solving, if you would. And so let me introduce the digital awareness certification and our thought. So if you think about the benchmarking that we did, that led to us thinking about, okay, we need to go create awareness of the digital technologies across the organization. So we kind of thought about it in multiple steps. The step one within the certification was just an introduction to various different digital technologies. So it helps you clarify or helps you in layman terms what it means when somebody says AI, or what it means when somebody says OCR, or what it means when somebody says machine learning. And it kind of helps you get a little smarter and, in general, aware of these technologies. Once we got through that, we actually created our own internal RPA webinar, which is more a finance on finance dialogue on how finance can leverage automation, specifically RPA, to gain efficiency. And it was done by our internal employees and subject matter experts. And then we introduced what we would call it as a menu of LinkedIn courses. We offered a few technical courses and a few soft skill courses. And soft skills were something that you saw on the previous slide. You could take any number of them, but you need to take at least 2 technical classes and 1 soft skill to be actually digitally certified. Overall, it's about 5 hours of commitment. But once you get there, you actually are much more aware of the technology. And um, we have close to 60% of our organization digitally certified at this point. Right? And that's a pretty large number that we have. None of this was made mandatory, right? We could have made it mandatory. I think this was more of word of mouth and encouragement and communication that these are the classes available for you to be successful. And it's up to each individual to go capitalize on these classes, if you would. So as you think about it from basic awareness, and if I say then we came into digital toolkits. And that's part of our building digital capabilities at an individual level. And again, this is something that's very recent. We introduced it very recently. Um, and I know a couple of my team members are listening in. I thank them for that. But the toolkits where the idea was to actually go spend a couple of hours. And one of the things that we realized is as we saw a number of our demand increase to transform through the pandemic, we were just not able to keep up with it, candidly. And so the idea was, how do we provide a better solution, a self-serving solution, and not become bureaucratic, wherein everything has to flow through either one team or a small organization. And the idea was to kind of take our first step towards citizen developer network. And this is our first step towards that citizen developer network, wherein we are offering toolkits to individuals who are interested in actually solving problems on their own. Or in many cases, they've just heard about what is Python or what is R, and they just want to get a little better understanding of it. They can actually spend some time doing this. And so that has been a recent introduction into our organization. And then as we think about that, we actually do have learning pathways. And now even learning pathways are set up in 3 different stages. And then you have a leader pathway, and I'll talk about it separately. But you have your beginner pathway, you have your intermediate pathway, and your advanced pathway. If you take your toolkit, right? So we talked about the toolkits on the previous page. You take the toolkits, those classes count towards your pathway. So these are not, it's not throwaway work, if you would. If you get interested in doing, let's say, Power BI, you could actually take a Power BI class through the toolkit and then come here and say, oh, I'm interested, maybe I get certified. You can take a data visualization class, and your Power BI class from the toolkit counts towards the credit to go get certified for beginner data visualization. And this was what worked for our company. I encourage you to go look at what works for you. But what the 3 topics that worked for our organization were robotic process automation, advanced analytics, and data visualization. And then we offered classes at beginner level, intermediate, and advanced. And I think roughly beginner is about 10 hours, intermediate is about 15 to 20, and then advanced is 20 plus, along with a capstone project that you have to do. We have probably a few hundred people who have actually certified through this. You could become an eventual data scientist through advanced analytics. But I do know we have a lot of senior members on this webinars, or they'll listen to it later. And we recognize that. And as a result of that, what we created is we created a leader pathway. And that's the one that you see going up and down here. And that's actually just us as leaders, you as leaders, what do you need to be aware of as you are thinking about digital transformation? So there are a number of articles as part of that pathway. We provided them, um, if you think about it, like, AI for a quick cheat sheet on AI, a cheat sheet on ML, a cheat sheet on how do you set up a data centric organization, things of that nature that you as a leader can think about. And as you're thinking about transformation or data transformation or digital transformation, you are you have something to start from, right? And you can actually take those classes, understand what the industry is doing about those, and then kind of help you to become a successful digital transformation leader for your respective functions. And so to me, that has been our journey. Each one of this is aligned back to our councils that works in our culture. We kind of work a little bit more from a council or a guild perspective. We have like-minded people come together, share best practices, share ideas, share code, leverage each other's talent and skill set, including people to go move around as needed. And that actually aligns back to our broader strategy as a company, as an organization. With that, I know I'm just about right at time. So Giles, I'll actually give it back to you if there are any questions. And I
Right.
apologize, I don't know how I dropped, but apologies for that.
No problem at all. No problem at all. I'm glad that you managed to get straight back on. Thank you so much for that. Really insightful talk there. Thank you. We have had a couple of questions come through. Let me jump straight into the first one that's come through from Carla. And Carla's asked, can you share a couple of your key corporation benchmarks that you have for your skill set transformation?
Yeah, hey, Carla. Oh no, we talk to many other North America, well, actually global companies, but the number of people's, there are two big ones that we talk about: the number of people who are certified or digitally certified, and the number of people who are engaged. When what the engagement is like, look, I actually was starting to go think about this, and I didn't actually finish the class, but it helped me at least understand some basic stuff. And so our key benchmark has been or measurement, maybe that's a better way to say it. A measurement has been certifications and engagement. And then from a benchmark, I mean, our learning and development program leader is part of many different external councils. And I know for a fact that we have talked to the likes of J&J, Johnson and Johnson, Coke, General Mills, Verizon, and it's kind of best practice. I think I'm having a dialogue with Salesforce on Friday, and the idea is to go make sure that we all are thinking in the right way for reskilling and upskilling our organization, our team members.
Thank you. A second question has come through from Alexander, who asks, hi, Parag, can you mention an example of how Dell has benefited from machine learning / automation / AI in the finance domain?
For sure. Hey, Alexander, that's a great question. Look, and I'll take them by technology, if you would, because I think each one applies slightly differently based on the domain within finance, if you would. I think we do a lot more of machine learning in our fraud space. And for us, credit card fraud and all of that actually comes through our finance organization. Management of that fraud happens through the finance organization. So we do have a machine learning based technology deployed, and actually had that deployed many years back before machine learning was the key buzzword, to go look at those transactions and the machine actually learning from the data points, working with our external uh, partners who give us data points also, and then the machine self-learning and implementing it. From an AI perspective, which I know it's a kind of machine learning becomes a facet of AI, but from an AI maybe analytics perspective, we are able to go do much better forecasting, drive better insights, go deeper insights, faster insights back with our business partners. And we have some new technologies and new algorithms being deployed as I speak on how we continue to go. Because one of the things that we all as a finance organization are dealing with is the uncertainty. with the pandemic. And so running scenario analysis, but then using advanced algorithms to run them is actually has been helpful. And then I think from an automation perspective, we are a captive organization. We have our AR collections happen through our own employees. Our AP happens through our own employees. And so you think about transactional work that happens, we've been able to capitalize on that transactional work through automation, not necessarily just RPA, but through automation, various different forms of automation. And then those are some of the basic examples on how we are dealing with it right now.
Thanks, Parag. Alexander then had a follow-up question, or a second part to that question, which was how easy/difficult has it been for you to get these changes done, since it requires changes and integrations with financial systems?
Um, it has not been an easy journey, but it has not been extremely difficult either. And what I mean by that is, I think we spent our first year just kind of um, change management and actually selling technology, right? A little bit. I know I'm part of a technology company. We sell transformation and technology to our customers. So it's a little bit of drinking our own champagne, if you would. So I think the biggest challenge, Alexander, was actually sensitivity around financial data. I think that was our biggest challenge. I think there was a fear of unknown, like would a robot or an AI go rogue and like put our data somewhere that it shouldn't be, right? And I think that financial data, and I think it is, once we have mentally gotten through that hump, it has been relatively easy to go implement new technologies. One thing that has worked for our organization is show me. So we would do like small proof of concepts, small pilots, and we'll actually show them that this technology works, or here's how it would work. And once you show it, it has helped our leaders understand the full potential of it, and that has given us a green light to implement further.
Thanks, Parag. Marco's come through and asked, thank you for the presentation, really clear and in the explanations, and also the design of the transformation path. How did COVID-19 impact such company-wide efforts? Is budget allocated to that being reduced? Reskilling is fundamental.
Yeah, so actually we kind of took a slightly different, I mean, COVID actually, in general, COVID has accelerated digital transformation for us and for many companies, and for pretty much, it's a true statement across the board. And so for us, it has been, the demand has actually gone through the roof. And as the demand has gone through the roof, I think our appetite for transformation has gone through the roof, if you would. And as a result of that, it has been easier dialogue back with our senior management team to go actually spend more money, if you would, or actually continue to spend money on skill set transformation. And so I think it has actually candidly helped us in many different ways, including in skill set, by actually introducing or accelerating the introduction of some newer technologies and newer frameworks. And Citizen Developer Network is a good one, wherein it might have taken us a couple of years to get there. At least right now we are having dialogues with our senior management team on what that would look like. How do we govern it? What are the frameworks under which we operate? Who gets trained on it? How much money can we dedicate to that? So definitely it has accelerated the dialogue, and the eventual goal probably is achieved sooner than later.
Thanks, Brian. A question's come through from Annalise, who asks, how did you go about to get the support from a funding and tech perspective? Did you have to sell it via savings?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, being part of the finance organization, usually I'm the one who's not signing off unless I see savings, right? And I'm like, look, we can't just do it because there is not an ROI or a CBA that's associated with it. However, it had become just an imperative to go do it. I mean, it was just like, as I said, like drink our own champagne. We have to do it, otherwise we're going to be left behind. And so, I will say, for a large majority of the programs, we do ask for and look at a good ROI on it, and make sure that we can actually um, hold our head high and say, yes, this had a high ROI, and we can see it on the P&L. but not everything has to be a high ROI. In many cases, we see like, it's actually error reduction or a compliance or a risk reduction or a speed that is hard to quantify. And some of that we would just go through like, look, those are qualitative benefits and not quantitative benefits, but we need to go do those. And we would get buy-in from the senior management all the way up to the CFO to go implement those.
Thank you. And then one last question, or it's actually another two-part question from Jill, who asks, what are some of the key finance skills you would recommend a finance manager, in brackets mid-level, to develop in order to future-proof themselves?
And look, I'm part of that pool, if you would. And I think one of the, some of them would be actually just a shift in our mindset. Okay, and so that's a little bit of a soft skill. Asking different questions, or maybe even leading with data related or analytical questions, right? And so I'll give you an example. Um, our audit leader within the company does not, you would normally just go through the audits and so on and so forth. But one of the metrics that we measure going forward is, hey, how much data analytics did you use as you were going through this audit? And it's a change, it's a different question that you are asking as a result of what you do. And so some of the skills that I would say is data literacy, awareness of technology, and maybe application of where the technology can be successful, right? So kind of you know the technology and you know your business problem. Are you able to go put one and one together? And then last but not least is agility, which I think we all have shown agility through the pandemic, but continuing to help your team members think through that as a manager would be helpful.
Thanks, Parag. And then the second part to Jill's question was, secondly, then how would you also recommend a CFO might go about developing their technology skills, especially considering senior finance leaders are often considered technologically challenged?
Yeah, and I mean, look, again, I lucked out because we are part of a technology company and with a CFO who is fairly technically savvy. But I think broadly speaking, it is just awareness and not, and like, how do you get some senior most leader, a C-level leader, comfortable with technology? At some point, it is also, if everybody else is doing it and this company or company, your company is not doing it, are you missing out on something, right? And there's a little bit of this fear of missing out phenomena that you have to go. One of the things that has worked with us, and I would not call it at a CFO level because our CFO is fairly savvy, technically savvy, but maybe some other executives is demystifying it. I mean, in bite-sized stuff, like, demystify what a chatbot is, or demystify what OCR. By the way, we would not use OCR as an acronym with them, right? We would just say, look, you get a document, and how do you actually recognize a particular logo or a particular thing from a document? And here are the applications of that. And just kind of helping them think through the benefits that it provides. It can be quantitative benefits, or it can be qualitative benefits, and it can be people benefits, employee experience, customer experience, because not everything has to be financial, right? I understand that. And so just kind of working through that has helped. I will tell you, when we were talking robotics, one of the first things that somebody asked me was, I was hoping that would be a physical robot who would be tapping on my keys. And that person, that leader, was so disappointed when I told them that it was a software-based robot. But true story, I'm not making it up, true story. And so kind of showing them some videos, showing them some examples has helped us demystify it. And that was just robotics. That's the easy part. As it gets to AI and then the ethical AI, and you get into a little deeper stuff here, you just have to kind of bring it down to a very basic level and then help them understand the benefits coming out of those.